Hi, this is another video, and today I'm going to talk about uh, doing some. Now I'm beginning to do stuff out of gardening, basically on food making, and I'm going to show some electrical engineering stuff, and then I'll end it up with some one-hand grab techniques. Well, with the gardening, let's say you want to make this. Green beans. This is a can of green beans. This can right here will cost about $1.39 to $1, $1.50 to $1, and it gives you 3 servings of green beans, which green beans is very good for you. And actually, green beans, you can actually do this technique with green beans. Asparagus, and there's others, but I actually planted those too, and in a pot. So green beans and asparagus, you actually, garden beans and asparagus you can do, but those are very good beans. You know why? Because believe it or not, men have testosterone and estrogen in them. You got testosterone and estrogen in them, and scientists found out that green beans, asparagus, and broccoli block the estrogen in men to free up the testosterone in men. So you can catch yourself on oysters. Oysters increase testosterone, and eat green beans and asparagus that blocks estrogen. So that's a very good diet if you think about it. Now, here's the dagger. And this martial art, you don't have a lot of money. You're going to be making $7.25 an hour, bringing in $250 a week. You're going to have to live big off of that. That's the goal in this one. You're going to have to live like a playboy, making minimum wage. That's the goal in this one. But now, how would you find doing? You might think, oh, you need a lot. You need to buy some dirt from the store to grow stuff. No, you don't. You have to know how to test a soil to find out if the soil's good, then plant something. Well, here's some tests you can do. You can get yourself a bucket and measure it. Make sure it's like 36 inches tall. Put it in the ground and put water in the bucket. Make sure the water doesn't leak. You put a timer, time it for 1 hour. If the soil goes down 15 to 18 inches, somewhere in that range, it's good soil. If it goes down 24 inches, it's too sandy. You're going to lose all your nutrients. But if it goes down under like 6 inches an hour, that's too clay, too much clay. It's not a good draining soil. So you want stuff right in the middle where you can retain your nutrients, and it'll take up stuff. It'll take water. That water will go down where you don't get high water tables. Well, another way you can determine soil is by looking at the plants in the area. See how green they are. If you see a dark green, that's a good indication of nitrogen. The plant has plenty of nitrogen in it. And also you can look at the weeds, particularly the clover weed. I don't know, you can look that up. Clover weed, Clover, clover weed. Well, that's an indication of a soil that lacks nitrogen. So you can just take a look at the different weeds in there, like Poa annua, might be an indication of high phosphorus in the soil. So you can take a look at that too to determine how good the soil is. And these tests you can actually do for free. But now, let's say but the problem is when you plant in soil and stuff like that, you're going to have problems. You could have problems with insects, pathogens in the soil, fungus, nematodes, weeds, competing for nutrients. You can have all that. But one good way to prevent that is by putting native soil into a pot like this. A pot like this. Remember I was telling you about the green beans, garden beans? And asparagus, I believe you can do it too. Asparagus. It should be able to grow in this pot. And I did that last year. I grew asparagus, garden beans from seed in that pot. Let's say if you're like in Wisconsin, you would want to start putting the seed in the ground in March and just wait to the last frost date. So you can take this in and out. If it freezes, take it in. If it's a nice day, take it out. In South Carolina, you do it like in South Carolina and Georgia, you would do it like in February. It's because the two states have a different planting zone. Believe it or not, here's an educated thing. Each state has a planting zone. South Carolina and parts of Georgia would be zone 8. And you go southern Georgia, that would be zone 9. You go over to Florida, that would be zone 10 to 11. Wisconsin will be zone 6. Like places like North Carolina, that would be zone 7. So there's a plant hardness zone, and you determine what type of plants when you grow stuff. But growing that, a seed, every February, green beans will come out. Garden beans will come out. And it gave about this much. One plant gave about this much garden beans. Now, let's say if you had 365 of those plants planted, well, you're going to have, and you freeze them in the freezer, you're going to have green beans all year long. So you're going to bring in about $300 right there. That's $300 saved. Asparagus, the same thing. $300 saved. But there's other plants you can grow, like tomatoes. They can like 6-7 tomato plants, grow them good. But I'm going to get into more detail about soil and stuff, soil science and stuff like that. Now, let's talk about the solar panel real quick. This solar panel right here. Well, energy from the sun is possible. It definitely is possible. Even you can get energy from the sun even on a cloudy day. But here's the dagger. You might get 1 amp an hour of energy. But that is between the time of 1 and 4 o'clock. That's where you get all the energy. Well, when it's earlier than that, you start to get less energy. Energy early in the morning generally is not, you don't get the full charge. I have done a test on that. Generally, the full charge is about 1 to 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock. That's when you get the full 100% charge. And you also have to bend it down like this when you approach it directly into the sun to get all of its rays. And it depends on the time of year. It goes by the rotation of the earth. During the winter time, it may be down like that. During the summertime, it can be a little up like that. So that's the way it goes with the solar panels. It's kind of tricky because you might get 1 amp at 100% charge, but you're not going to get that throughout the day. So that's one of the downfalls of solar panels. But I'll get into other ways of making electricity. But now, let's say somebody grabbing you with one hand. I'm going to show you 2 techniques right now. Well, somebody's grabbing you like one hand, like that. With your left hand, this is my left hand. What you want to do is do a weakening shot. Solar plexus, that'll knock his wind out. Then you can grab his hand that's on your shirt and go that way. Put your left foot left. So grab and turn your left foot that way. That will, it's a wrist lock. He's going to go like that. That should break his wrist. But you can do it the other way. This is the second way. This is the second technique. Grab and do an outer wrist lock. Move your right leg like that, point him to the ground. When you do that, then you can stomp him with your foot. That's when somebody's grabbing you with one hand. And I'll be getting into more of that later. But that's what the goal is. I just gave you a way you can actually save like $300 if it's applicable to you. With a guy like me, it's not. I know how to do it. But some people who like mortgages and stuff like that, you can use that lawn. You can use the lawn for gardens and stuff like that. It'll help save money. You can get free fruits. So that's an option to save money.